All right, let's get started. Welcome everyone to the market simulation call for fall 2022 release. Today is September 12th, and my name is Anshuman Vedya. Call and webinars are recorded for stakeholder convenience, allowing those who are unable to attend to listen to the recordings after the meeting. These recordings will be publicly available on the ISO webpage for limited time following the meetings. These recordings and any related transcription should not be reprinted without the ISO permission. Talk about the following agenda today. We'll go through our map stage availability. We'll talk about the connectivity testing for this release, and then we'll talk about the initiatives and timelines for this release. We'll talk about any updates for system interface changes, and then we'll deep dive to the different initiatives we have in this release. And then we'll go through the known issues and the next steps. So for map stage availability, you can always log into portalmap.kaiso.com to get up-to-date system information. Currently, we have the CETA maintenance still going on till tomorrow. And we have an upcoming map stage scheduled maintenance for master file, UN API for 13th of September, and 14th of September for CMRI and OSS. We were planning to do this master file maintenance on Friday. We did deploy the code, but then we found out a few bugs. So we have to redeploy the code again tomorrow, and we're testing it today in our test environment. So that's why you see an updated date for the master file maintenance on 13th of September. Any thoughts or concerns regarding this maintenance?
Hi, Anshuman. Good morning. Good afternoon. This is Chunyu from PG&E. Yes, so after tomorrow's deployment, so you sure tomorrow the deployment, and then after the deployment, you guys going to do more testing before you it become available to us?
So we are still we're planning to move the dates by 2 days. So the dates you had before are moved by 2 days. We're still hoping to get it done good in time for market simulation, but that's the plan right now.
2 days is being when?
So we were planning to open it to market participants for connectivity testing on 9/14 earlier, and we have moved that date to 9/16 currently.
Seems like it's always moving to the date, then we don't, like, it's not a market sim call. And then we have to wait for the next day for the market sim call, next 2 days. It's possible to let us know in the next day or two?
I can definitely keep you updated for the master file maintenance when the code will be deployed on map stage.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, moving on. So as I mentioned earlier, we have ALP system available for connectivity, and we are moving the connectivity testing from master file to 16th of September. But CMRI and OSS connectivity start on 15th of September. Any questions regarding the connectivity testing timelines? All right, moving on. There are a couple of changes here on the initiatives timelines. So since we moved the master file deployment for 2 more days, it's very near to our market simulation timeline. So we also added 1 more date just in case if we are not able to complete the scenarios or if there are any issues that we foresee, upcoming in the deployments, then we can also do the scenarios on 4th of October. The rest of the dates for the project's market simulation remains the same. Anybody has any questions regarding these timelines? Moving on. For system interface changes, we have no changes on this slide. All the dates are similar to what we discussed earlier in earlier meetings. Anybody has any questions regarding the system interface changes for Cyber, Masterfile, and ALS? All right, moving on. Then we have the system interface changes that are coming for CMRI and OSS. And the upcoming latest one is the CMRI one that's going to be deployed on 15th, and the OSS one that's going to be deployed on 15th. And 2 more changes for CMRI and OSS getting deployed on 19th. Anybody has any questions regarding these upcoming system interface changes? All right, moving on. So let's deep dive into our projects. For flexible ramping product deliverability, we have the market sim scenarios. Scenario execution date is 27th of September, and the scenario document is available here at the link. We had a question in the last call regarding how will CAISO manage the FR, the ramping requirements for the entities within the ISO. And for that, since we did not have any steps in the market sim scenarios, we would be actually doing that for you. We can make sure that the flexible ramping requirements fails in the CAISO BAA because they need to fail at the BAA level, and then those results can be followed up as per your bids into the settlements processing. And if you have any questions, we have our SME YT with us here. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and ask.
Hi, Inchman. This is Chen Yu. Thank you for trying to address that question. So you say this is I just try to really understand. If I were to pull out, I'm just trying to pull out the scenarios. Just give me a second. So in the scenario, we're talking about FRP, right? So for the ISO market participant action, it's not apply. However, the first scenarios demonstrate the variability of locational price for FRU and FRD. And you say that CAISO is going to take action to who is going to take action on fail on the CAISO BAAs? I'm not very clear.
Sure.
The steps
so let me
there.
explain that.
Yeah, Ashma, do you want me to take this one? I can take this one.
Just give me one statement, YT, and then I'll hand it over to you for any more updates. So, Chinyu, just to let you know, there are 2 scenarios. In the first scenario is mostly bid to bill scenario, where you will just put the bids in and you will see the results of LMP fluctuations in your settlements results. Now, in the second scenario is where we have to set up a scenario, but in the setting of the scenario for EIM participants, it's easy to put in the bids for the sufficiency requirements and then fail it to see the results in settlements at the BAA level. And for ISO participants, we have to do it on our end so that the CAISO as a BAA fails those FRP requirements so that you could see the results in settlements. With that, I'll hand it over to YT to give further clarification.
So before,
yeah.
Okay, go ahead. I wasn't sure Inchman was talking about the first or the second scenarios in that steps. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, while we provide additional clarification, Instrument, maybe you can pull up those scenarios. And the clarification I want to provide is make sure we understand that nodal FRP price will always be calculated regardless the BA fail or pass the test. So you're always going to be able to see those nodal price on Oasis, and you will be able to see your resource nodal price in settlement statement as well. Whether ISO pass or fail the test, it only has an impact on how the requirement is calculated for FRU or FRD. Say if ISO failed the test, then that means ISO has to have sufficient ramping capacity to satisfy those FRU requirement from internal resource. So in that case, the requirement is for ISO itself to enforce that requirement. But if ISO failed the test, if ISO passed the test with like maybe 10 other BAs or whatever, let's say just 10 other BAs. So we have 11 BAs passing as a group. So now the FRU requirement is procured as a group level, and we see the sharing of that ramping capacity among all 11 of us and satisfy that requirement. So that's the difference when you have the pass and the fail. But for the nodal requirement, for the nodal price, you always see them regardless. So I just want to provide that clarification and here.
Okay, thank you. So that means we will not see any non-zero pricing, the nodal pricing, correct?
No, it could be zero, depending on the economics, and so the nodal price can be zero. Like if there's sufficient, if the uncertainty is requirement is low and the ramping capacity system has enough capacity, right, and there's no transmission constraint in the system, so your price can be zero. So this is different from energy, which most times very, very unlikely you're going to see zero across the board. For FRP, the price it is possible, it is zero, but it's not going to be null value. You're always going to see zero or non-zero value on Oasis.
Sounds good. So we'll say I will just have a further question. So on the day that you're going to simulate the structure on that trade day, I forget, it's probably the 22nd or 27th, I forget the date. Then we'll say if we look at the result for that day, there will be for sure for the ramping award hours we will see non-zero pricing value.
Wait, say that again. I didn't catch the last one.
So on the just question on the day that when you simulate the test, we shall be able to see, we'll say 24 hours, and we shall be able to see during those ramping award hours, we shall be able to see non-zero price.
I expect to see some zero prices. Most times it could be zero price. I'm trying to say the price can be zero for nodal FRP or FRU or nodal FRD price. The price can be zero, but we can try to make some non-zero prices in the system. That's our goal, because like we want a participant to see those transmission binding in the FRU deployment scenarios or FRD deployment scenarios. But it's not always guaranteed that every location will have non-zero price. So depending on what location you're checking, yeah, you may see zero for the entire day, because there's no transmission constraint, which is introduced congestion in that price, or the FRU requirement itself is very feasible, and we have zero, like that margin is zero cost. So it is possible you see zero, but I expect we have non-zero price somewhere in the system.
Okay, thank you for explaining this. I do not want to take up the entire time for the market sim call. So so can once say after I may maybe reach out to you for some offline conversation just to seek understanding. Maybe when after the market results publish, when we look at that, if it doesn't make sense or we just have a question, can we reach out to you?
Yeah, of course. If you like, just like any other project, if you have questions on those results and why those price you don't think that makes sense, let us know and we'll address those. Yeah.
Yeah, and the issue is sort of like a black box to us, and we're not putting any bits in, and that is kind of hard for us to know where we shall be able to see the pricing.
Okay. I see. Yeah, if you have some specific generators and like in production, you normally get FRU award or FRD award in production, and you want to see how it gets impacted by this project, then yeah, we'll for sure make sure send those requests to us, and you say, okay, this generator I would rather put bid myself. And those we can ask our cyber team. They will not use the canned bid for you, and you can just on that day and submit your own bid.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Perfect. Thank you, Chunu and YT. This discussion definitely helps everyone. So thank you for that. Anybody has any other questions regarding this project? All right, moving on. Next, we have a central procurement entity. As we mentioned earlier, we have the provisioning request for map stage is open. You could go ahead and send us that request. We still are planning to do the RA data copy by tomorrow. And we have the RA plan submission date between 14th of September to 19th of September. Similarly, you could also request for provisioning in production by 3rd of October. That's our date that we are trying to track to. The scenario document is available at the following link. And please let me know if you have any questions regarding this project. All right, moving on. Next project we have is Hybrid Resources Phase 2B. And as I mentioned earlier, we are having 2 dates now for running the structured scenario, that is 20th of September and 4th of October, just to give us more space on making sure that we complete all the scenarios. We have the scenario document link at the link provided here. Anybody has any further questions regarding this project? Perfect. All right, moving on. For the next project, we have Reliability Demand Resource Response Phase 2 project, and we have structured scenarios on 29th of September, and the scenario document is available here. I'll open up for any questions regarding this project. All right, let's move on to our known issues. Even though I say known issues, but it's mostly pending CD tickets that we have. We had these 3 items in the last call, and I don't have an update for you till now. They're still under pending SME review, and the hybrid resource creation in MasterFile is still waiting for the code deployment to be correctly deployed in map stage so that we can put the resources in. Anybody have any questions regarding these known issues?
Enchman, hi. Can these issues being resolved by end of this week, since we've been waiting for some time?
I have the hopes that it will be resolved. We did reply back regarding the CMRI report query, and customer came back with further questions, so we are trying to resolve those. For ALS API provisioning for hybrid project, we are internally discussing it, and I hope that we'll get you a reply by end of this week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right. I think this is the right point that I can ask if anybody has any other CD tickets that they want me to escalate or look into. Please let me know now. Perfect. If something comes up later, please feel free to send me an email, and I'll look at it and escalate it as soon as possible. All right, that's all I had for today's meeting. The next meeting is scheduled for September 15th at 2 p.m. And if there are no further questions, I'll wait for a couple of minutes, and then we can come back and meet on September 15th. All right, I don't hear any questions. Thank you, everyone, for joining the call. We'll see you back on September 15th.